All right, shalom, family,
Shalom.
and welcome to our atonement for this year. Praise Yahweh. This is every atonement is a wonderful occasion for us to be able to have an opportunity to get right with our Elohim. Um, but this was a challenging year, and Yahweh has truly blessed us and allowed us to do some things that we really hadn't thought about doing. That's why we have to kind of allow His will to direct us, because Yahweh will show us His will by problems that we may encounter, only to figure out that this was His plan the whole time. It wasn't that we decided, I think we should have us a place. That was not a thought that any of the priests here had. Not one of us were trying to go and find a place. Yahweh made it to where, the people say, hey, y'all on the month-to-month lease. I cared enough about my congregation to say that there's no way I can leave or have these people in a situation where in 30 days we would have to leave. And that started this process. And it is a beautiful situation, but it didn't start out beautiful. We have to understand that everything that start out one way, it may end a whole nother way. And Yahweh is in the ending of a thing. So that ending is still a new beginning for us. But it was trouble. It was some things that made us get to this point. And I praise Yahweh that He has done that. We're going to begin tonight in Genesis chapter 37. Genesis chapter 37, and we're going to start at verse 12.
Verse 12. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not your brother feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I'll send you on to them. And he said to him, Here am I. And he said to him, Go, I pray you, see whether it be well with your brethren, and well with the flocks.
Now, a lot of times we look at things and we try to, we have this problem a lot of times with fitting in. You got to understand something, that Joseph has an issue. His father has noticed something different about him. He is the son of his father's old age, and he treats him differently. That automatically causes him some problems with his brothers. There's certain amounts of gifts that does not allow us to fit in. I tried my whole life to fit in, to try to act like I wasn't different. But that's exactly what Yahweh wanted me to be, different. I tried to act like I thought like other people. I never did. But none of it really made sense until He gave me what He wanted me to do. Then everything made sense. Go ahead.
And bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seeketh you? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray you, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They're departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer comes.
He's different than them. Now, this is where sometimes we take something because it's not the same as the way we are, and we deal with it suspectly. They said, This man was like Jacob. We don't really consider that. Think about what it said about Esau and Jacob. Esau was a cunning hunter. He was an outside man. So we automatically say he was more manly. He said Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Okay. Now you got this boy. This boy is dwelling in tents. His brothers are out. They have an issue with him. Why he get to sit in the tent? Go ahead.
Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we will say, some evil beast has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him.
Why does this little boy have the coat of many colors? He has a coat of authority, and he's a little boy. They had envy against his coat. They had a problem with this coat. He ain't work. They have deemed him unworthy of his position because they're older than him, and he not working with him. They don't see him in the trenches. They got a problem, but he got a gift. Go ahead.
And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked. And, behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Yehudah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content.
They were content to sell their brother. Go ahead.
Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned onto the pit, and, behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren, and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat, and killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, this have we found. Know now whether it be your son's coat or no. And he knew it, and said, it is my son's coat. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces.
Now, at this point, the father is now questioning his decision to send him to go look for his brothers. He's now blaming himself. Now, self-will of what they wanted. The one person that they did not think about was the father. They didn't think about who else this was going to hurt. Go ahead.
You know, it's interesting. We talk about giving somebody a lie. He gave them the lie.
He did. Go ahead.
And Jacob rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted.
Refused to be comforted. Go ahead.
And he said, for I'll go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard.
You know, it's something that we oftentimes we have. We end up in a situation and we say, you know, why me? Why did I have to go through this? You know, we always ask that question of, you know, why did we have to be slaves? You know, this is before anybody. We sold our brother into slavery. Now, what do you think the atonement for that is? We can't blame this on the Gentiles. Ain't no Gentiles in this mix. But us and Egypt, them Africans. This is all happening. This is a transaction of all black people. There are no Gentiles here. And we have gotten together and sold our brother in slavery. Yet we will sit here and ask, why did we have to be slaves? I think you were the first slave dealer. We want to remember what the Arabs did. We want to go, we go through all our history books. But see, those history books don't cause us to be responsible for what we did. It's real easy to go and look up and find out what the Gentiles did, to go find out what the Arabs did. What about what you did? So when we talk about this full-scale atonement for slavery, we're ready to get our reparations. But hold on for a second. Hold on. You brought this slavery on yourself. Your idea of dealing with the blessed brother who was dwelling in tents was to sell him. And you sold him to Egypt. And you ended up being slaves where? Interesting. And then when we got sold to this place, it was Africans who sold us here. Interesting. That's something that we just let go by, you know? And there's something that we also have to look at when we talk about atonement. So part of this slavery that we're going through may be connected to the atoning for the slavery that we caused. But we don't consider that. We're too busy worrying about when we're going to get paid back. But maybe you paying back. That's why you can't get paid back. How can you get paid back while you're paying back? You can't get your payment yet. You got to pay for what you already did. Understand something. All the brothers participated in this, except the one, of course, who ain't born. So all of Israel got a part in this. And what they did not consider. It says Jacob rent his clothes and mourned many days. You ever wonder how deceived Jacob must have felt? 20-something years later, he's going to look in the eyes of his son, whom he thought was dead, and realize that 10 of his boys has lied to him to his face, looking him in his eyes for over 20 years. 20 years they have looked in their father's eyes and said, yes, your son, an evil beast, devoured your son. 20 years they have looked him directly in the eyes and lied. What must be going through the father's head the day he sees this grown man version of his child? This grown man version of his child looking at him. What does that do to him? You know, when you talk about even feeling deceived, I remember going to DeVry, and I'd already got kicked out of Fire High School, so it was a real sketchy thing to be talking about. My mama was gonna send me to college, and that was not a favorite decision among any of the family and friends, because they was like, he couldn't stay in high school. How he gonna go, to college? And I remember feeling like I already felt out of place. And then they did that thing where they say, look to your left, look to your right. One of these people are not going to be here. I felt so good because I had a friend of mine, his brother was there. So I felt good that I saw him. And then he says, oh, you're going to be the one that ain't going to be here. Broke my heart. But it turns out he was the one who dropped out, not me. Then we get down to graduation. I have all these people whom I've helped in their tests, in their everything. We get to the point of graduation. And then I hear these harsh words. And I'm looking around. Hey, who better talk to? And everybody's quiet because they are wondering, like, you ain't figured out he talking about you? Now, this is somebody I helped all the way through school. Once at graduation, now he doesn't need my help anymore. He let me know what he felt about me. And I was like, wow. DeVry was a 2-year program. You held that in for 2 years? That was something that I learned about adult animosity. Understand something? I was 18 years old, coming fresh out of high school. These were 30-year-old men who hadn't studied in a long time, so they couldn't catch those things. That was new to me, to watch somebody dislike you for 2 years, but stay around you to take the benefit of whatever you have and then let it all out on graduation day. Oh, I grew up that day. Then it wasn't because I got a degree. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7, and we're going to start that at verse 15.
Verse 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
And they ain't just got to be a prophet. Beware of false friend. Beware of false brethren. Beware of false sister. Just beware of false people. Go ahead.
You shall know them by their fruits.
Mm-hmm.
Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them.
Right. Forget what people say. What are the fruits of their deeds, of their doing? Where the fruit at? So this is where we listen to people say all these glorious things. Yeah, that sounds nice. What the fruit of it? Go ahead.
Not everyone that says unto me, Adonai, Adonai, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Adonai, Adonai, have we not prophesied in your name, and in your name have cast out devils, and in your name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work lawlessness.
I never knew you. You know, I had to think back to that situation in DeVry to realize there were some individuals that I was surrounded by that I never knew. He says, I never knew you. Not, I used to know you and you changed. No, I never knew you. That's a really hard statement to realize. I never knew you. Everything you presented was false. Sometimes those things have to burn us so that we are motivated to not do that to anybody else because we know what it feels like. Go ahead.
Therefore, whosoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that hears these sayings of mine, and does them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Yahshua had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes.
He taught as one having authority, and believe you me, this right here causes its own issues when you teach as one having authority. Let's go to Psalms chapter 35.
Psalm chapter 35 and verse 1. Plead my cause, O Yahweh, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of shield and buckler, and stand up for mine help. Draw out also the spear, and stop the way against them that persecute me. Say unto my soul, I am your salvation.
Right. You want Yahweh to plead your cause. But how is he motivated to plead your cause? Go ahead.
Let them be confounded, and put to shame that seek after my soul. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of Yahweh chase them. Let their way be dark and slippery, and let the angel of Yahweh persecute them. For without cause have they hid for me their net in a pit, which without cause they have digged for my soul.
Verse 6 says, let their way be dark and slippery, and let the angel of Yahweh persecute them. He says, be careful, because some of you have entertained angels unawares. That destroyer, that was an angel. You don't know what manner of angel you're in the presence of. You might be in the presence of an angel that wants to take your head off. Go ahead.
Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that he has hid catch himself. Into that very destruction let him fall. And my soul shall be joyful in Yahweh, it shall rejoice in his salvation. All my bones shall say, Yahweh, who is like unto you, which delivereth the poor from him that is too strong for him, yea, the poor and the needy from him that spoils him. False witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not. They rewarded me evil for good, to the spoiling of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth.
But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. The most uncomfortable thing you can put on skin. Go ahead.
I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into mine own bosom. I behaved myself as though he had been my friend or brother.
Why not? Because you didn't know no better. You thought it was your friend. You thought it was your brother. This is how Yahweh keeps you honest. Sometimes you may be angry because you look back and you say, out of all the things that Yahweh has revealed unto me, why didn't he reveal unto me the deception that was surrounding me? But this is how he kept you honest. See, if you know, then you're going to react a certain way. But if he's able to keep you from knowing, then you are still being a friend and still being pure. While they are coming against you, and you are heaping hot coals of fire on their head without even knowing it. It's Yahweh that hides stuff from you. And sometimes it can be very confusing. Why would he hide this from me? His will is his will. And even if he told you, you probably still wouldn't understand. Go ahead, bro.
You know, brother, in these days and times, you might look at someone rebuking you but you can't take it and understand that they're being a good friend to you or a good person to you.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and age with these internet, we like to post stuff and put little innuendos behind our statements,
Right.
not thinking that people can read in between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
During the time of atonement, you gonna remember to atone for that? Or the post don't mean nothing?
Oh no, that's interesting. But then you have to then ask yourself, how much atoning has to happen for a post? Okay, if I'm talking to you, I said it to you. Okay, maybe Mikael was in the room, maybe Mishael, maybe 2 other brothers. Okay, so I got to deal with maybe 4 or 5 things. Okay, if I post that innuendo and 6,000 people read it, what must my atonement be? Right. Go ahead.
I bowed down heavily as one that mourns for his mother. But in mine adversity they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. Yea, the abjects gathered themselves together against me, and I knew it not. They did tear me and ceased not. With hypocritical mockers in feast, they gnashed upon me with their teeth. Adonai, how long will you look on? Rescue my soul from their destructions, my darling from their loins.
Right.
From their lions.
How long will you look on? Rescue my soul from their destruction. We want to be rescued right now, but let me tell you something. There's sometimes that there's a maturity that something has to come to its full point. You might say, this is unbearable. Yahweh said, oh no, but wait, there's more. I'm waiting for one little extra additive. Once I get that, I can go ahead and, take care of this business. But it ain't full yet. So it's like if you were going through something to get rid of cancer, you didn't want to stop if they told you that the cancer wasn't gone. Said no, it's a little bit left. All right, well then let's I gotta go do one more treatment. It's not fun. It's not something that you would sign yourself up for. But he knows it ain't done yet. So I can't remove this. Because that little bit that I leave is going to turn around and come back and get you. Go ahead.
My darling from the lions. Verse 18. I'll give you thanks in the great congregation. I'll praise you among much people. Let not them that are mine enemies wrongfully rejoice over me, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without a cause. For they speak not peace, but they devise deceitful matters against them that are quiet in the land. Yea, they opened their mouth wide against me and said, aha, aha, our eye has seen it.
Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is that you be without for a little while. Before beginning this congregation, you couldn't have told me that Kish was going to be the man that was going to be standing there. I had a whole nother right-hand man. He went everywhere I went. But then my elder died, and they took all my power in that place. Then it was no longer beneficial to be around me. And my right hand didn't even end up being my left foot. Kish came around when I didn't have nothing. That's why he's sitting right here as we move forward. Best thing that could have happened to me was that they stripped me of my coat of many colors. Thank you. Go ahead.
This you have seen, O Yahweh, keep not silence. O Adonai, be not far from me. Stir up yourself and awake to my judgment, even unto my cause, my Elohim and my Adonai. Judge me, O Yahweh, my Elohim, according to your righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me. Let them not say in their hearts, ah, so would we have it. Let them not say, we have swallowed him up. Let them be ashamed and brought to confusion together that rejoice at mine hurt. Let them be clothed with shame and dishonor that magnify themselves against me. Let them shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteous cause. Yea, let them say continually, let Yahweh be magnified, which has pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. And my tongue shall speak of your righteousness and of your praise all the day long.
All right, let's go to Psalms 55. Psalm 55, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Give ear to my prayer, O Elohim, and hide not yourself from my supplication. Attend unto me, and hear me. I mourn in my complaint, and make a noise. Because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked, for they cast lawlessness upon me, and in wrath they hate me.
You know, we go through, these psalms, these poems, these songs of adversity. But the one thing you have to understand, and that the thing that you have to see, is how adversity makes you call on your Elohim. Now, if we are at the point where, and he warned us, beware when you are fed to the full, that you don't forget me. Okay, so if the only time we make supplication and we pray is when something is going wrong, what are we asking him to do to us if he wants to hear from you? I mean, if I throw the frisbee and my dog gets it and brings it back, and I give my dog a snack, I am telling my dog what I want it to do and that I'm going to reward you. If the reward is that he gets to speak to you, but the only time he gets your attention is when you're going through something. You asking him to send you through something. Go ahead.
My heart is sore pained within me, and the terrors of death are fallen upon me. Fearfulness and trembling are come upon me, and horror has overwhelmed me. And I said, oh, that I had wings like a dove, for then would I fly away and be at rest. Lo, then would I wander far off and remain in the wilderness. I would hasten my escape from the windy storm and tempest. Destroy, O Adonai, and divide their tongues, for I have seen violence and strife in the city. Day and night they go about it upon the walls thereof. Mischief also and sorrow are in the midst of it. Wickedness is in the midst thereof. Deceit and guile depart not from their streets. For it was not an enemy that reproached me, then could I have borne it. Neither was it he that hated me that did magnify himself against me. Then
Joseph got sold by his brothers. Can you imagine the whole thought process of what's going through his head as his brothers strip him of his coat? He found his brothers, so he's excited that he has seen them. He gets close to his brothers, and then they grab him and snatch the coat off of him and throw him in a pit. His excitement to see his brothers has turned horribly. And it wasn't an enemy. Those was his brothers. We are atoning for the very deed. If we're going to live in the promise, we got to live in the persecution too. You can't just walk in the promise, but not walk in the persecution. You got to walk in them both. Go ahead.
Then I would have hid myself from him. But it was you, a man my equal, my guide, and mine acquaintance. We took sweet counsel together and walked on to the house of Elohim in company. Let death seize upon them, and let them go down quick into hell. for wickedness is in their dwellings and among them. As for me, I will call upon Elohim, and Yahweh shall save me. Evening and morning, and at noon will I pray and cry aloud.
Will he do that, though, if he wasn't going through something? What are the intervals in when we pray? Some of us, Yahweh has provided for us so well that we don't pray. You are putting yourself in a situation whereby he is forced to show himself in your life. I don't think that's what you want. Go ahead.
And he shall hear my voice. He has delivered my soul in peace from the battle that was against me, for there were many with me. Elohim shall hear and afflict them, even he that abides of old. Because they have no changes, therefore they fear not Elohim. He has put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant.
Right, that automatic covenant of peace that we talked about earlier. Between two individuals who have never had a schism, there's a covenant of peace there. When you come against somebody who has not done anything unto you, you have broken the covenant of peace. You're the one at fault. Go ahead.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Cast your burden upon Yahweh, and he shall sustain you. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. But you, O Elohim, shall bring them down into the pit of destruction. Bloody and deceitful men shall not live out half their days. But I will trust in you.
But I will trust in you. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 21. Second Samuel chapter 21, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14.
Then there was a famine in the days of Dawid 3 years, year after year. And Dawid inquired of Yahweh.
Now check this out now. Now it says 3 years of famine. Dawid is a praying man. He knows about entreating Yahweh. It says, then there was a famine in the days of Dawid 3 years. Year after year. So, all these coming back to back. And Dawid inquired of Yahweh. Now, do you not think that he inquired on the first year? Let me tell you something about our God. All right? He works in a certain way. So it's 3 years. Yahweh is making a point. This famine has to be 3 years. And you can ask year 1. You can ask year 2. But you're not going to get an answer until year 3. Because there's something that he's dealing with right now. So do we just ask the one time, and if we don't get it, then it's a done deal? Go ahead, priest.
And Yahweh answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites.
But Yahweh waits 3 years before he answers. And then he tells him what it's for. Yes, this is happening unto you. It is for Saul and his bloody house. Now, the Gibeonites are people that we made a promise to. The Gibeonites were protected servants. Saul crossed the line. Here's the issue. Yahweh is sending a famine in the time of Dawid. Dawid wasn't king when it happened. Saul, and he said, Saul did it. So why does it happen during Dawid's time? What job you got? Okay, you're a king. What was the other dude? A king. All right. You inherit all the problems with the job. That dude did some stuff. Now I'm going to make you atone for it. Go ahead.
And the king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, Now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites. And the children of Israel had sworn unto them, and Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Israel and Yehuda.
Right. So he can brown nose with people that he already over, and he going to do that by pouncing on some unprotected people among us. Go ahead.
Wherefore David said unto the Gibeonites, What shall I do for you?
Listen.
And wherewith shall I make the atonement?
Stop. If he don't take care of this business, this famine don't stop. Yahweh has said it has come, the bill is come due. You got to make atonement with the Gibeonites. You the king. The last king did it. This king gonna fix it. We don't think about that when we get into situations. We get into all of these things. Well, hey, you inheriting something. You might have to make atonement for the things that it did even before you had it. Keep reading.
That you may bless the inheritance of Yahweh.
That you may bless the inheritance of Yahweh. So now that there's something owed to them, Israel as a nation cannot be blessed. A blessed people cannot be blessed because they have a bill that they have not paid. And they about to get their salvation lights turned out if they don't take care of this bill. Go ahead.
And the Gibeonites said unto him, We will have no silver nor gold of Saul, nor of his house, neither for us shall you kill any man in Israel. And he said, What you shall say, that will I do for you.
Now, check it out. The king has, you have to understand the power and the mercy of an Elohim, as powerful as Yahweh, but as merciful as Yahweh. The king of Israel is having to ask some captive servants, what must I do for you that you may bless my people? Because I need your blessing because we did you wrong. I need to make atonement for what happened at this job before I got this job. Go ahead.
And they answered the king, The man that consumed us, and that devised against us that we should be destroyed from remaining in any of the coast of Israel, let 7 men of his sons be delivered unto us, and we will hang them up unto Yahweh in Gibeah of Saul, whom Yahweh did choose. And the king said, I will give them.
Check that out. They have decided this is their request. So no, we don't want no silver, no gold. Go ahead.
But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of Yahweh's oath that was between them, between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. But the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bare unto Saul, Armoni and Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Maholathite. And he delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the hill before Yahweh. And they fell all 7 together, and were put to death in the days of harvest, in the first days, in the beginning of barley harvest. And Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it for her upon the rock, from the beginning of harvest until water dropped upon them out of heaven, and suffered neither the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beast of the field by night. And it was told David that Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. And David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son from the men of Jabesh Gilead, which had stolen them from the street of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them, when the Philistines had slain Saul in Gilboa. And he brought up from thence the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son, and they gathered the bones of them that were hanged. And the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son buried they in the country of Benjamin in Zelah, in the grave of Kish his father, and they performed all that the king commanded. And after that, Elohim was entreated for the land.
Check that out. After that, he was entreated. In other words, he accepted the atonement. Time had passed. And sometimes we believe, the more time that has passed, the more we don't need to make that right. That's not how Yahweh looked at it. He said, after that, he was entreated for the land. If you don't take care of this business, the whole nation is going to have this problem. If you notice, when we read the things in the law, it says you must cut off wickedness from Israel. Understand, when the wickedness is not atoned for, it sets hold in the land and it spreads throughout the land, meaning that the entire nation suffers. That's something that we have to take into consideration. Let's go to Esther chapter 3. So if we want to cut off wickedness, if we want to cut off evil from the land of Israel, there's going to be some hard decisions that we're going to have to make. Esther chapter 3. And we're going to read verses 1 through 11.
After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgress you the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman, to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Yehudi. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of anger.
Now, it is amazing the amount of vanity that's there. But something as simple as this man not bowing to this individual has now caused a whole nation to be in trouble. Go ahead.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Yehudis that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
So now his indignation is not now just on Mordecai. He has indignation on the entire nation of Israel. Go ahead.
In the first month, that is, the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pure, that is, the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is, the month Adar. And Haman said unto the king Ahasuerus, There's a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. And their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I'll pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasury.
Right. I'm going to pay 10,000 talents of silver to make sure that none of those people who refuse to bow to me are alive. All because they have a problem with one man. Go ahead.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Yehudi's enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to you, the people also, to do with them as it seems good to you.
Right. It is now put in your hands to do what you will. Jump to chapter 4.
When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes.
He rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes. At this point, he's afflicting himself. Now, why is he afflicting himself? He's afflicting himself in hopes that his Elohim will hear him, Esther. Go ahead.
And went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Yehudis, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was, and why it was. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai onto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Yehudis to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people.
Right. She is now in a position to influence this situation. Go ahead.
And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's province do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
So then now trying to go in unto the king can be a very dangerous proposition. Go ahead.
And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with yourself that you shall escape in the king's house more than all the Yehudis. For if you altogether holdeth your peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Yehudis from another place. But you and your father's house shall be destroyed. And who knows whether you are come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
Who knows whether that's the reason you even in that house? To be able to protect us from this destruction. Go ahead.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather together all the Yehudis that are present in Shushan, and fast you for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king.
I'll go ahead and break this law. I need y'all to fast for me, because I'm about to break the law. Because it's not lawful for me to go in unto the king. Go ahead.
Which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
If I perish, I perish. But I'm going to go break this law, but I'm going to fast, and I need y'all to fast with me. So maybe Yahweh won't hear me, but maybe he'll hear you. Do we ever consider that when we have an issue? Go ahead.
So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
All right. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 58. So that's something that we have to consider as we go throughout our day in our fast. it might be beneficial for other people to be fasting and praying for your situation as well. But that means you got to tell somebody your situation. She said, oh, I'm going to pray. And my maiden's going to pray and fast. Because I'm about to do something that could cost me my life. But I'm going to do it. Isaiah chapter 58. Let's read verses 1 through 14.
Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily, and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness, and forsook not the ordinance of their El. They ask of me the ordinances of justice, they take delight in approaching to Elohim. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and you see it not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and you take no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast you find pleasure and exact all your labors.
So then we get an instruction on how we're supposed to go throughout this day. Go ahead.
Behold, you fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. You shall not fast as you do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high. Is it such a fast that I have chosen? A day for a man to afflict his soul. Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast and an acceptable day to Yahweh?
So at this point, they are making the fast a thing of a presentable event that people can see and witness all of these things. It's written when you fast, don't have your face and appear to fast. Don't sit there and whine about your fasting so that everybody you encounter know you fasting. Oh, you getting your reward. You getting your reward from those people. Oh, I'm so hungry. Why are you hungry? I ain't ate in 17 hours. So they can tell you, oh, wow. They don't need to know that you fast. They said, anoint your face with oil. Look like you all right. Go ahead.
Is not this the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, that you break every yoke? Is it not to deal your bread to the hungry, and that you bring the poor that are cast out of your house, or cast out to your house? When you see the naked, that you cover him, and that you hide not yourself from your own flesh. Then shall your light break forth as the morning, and shine, and your health shall spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of Yahweh shall be your reward. Then shall you call, and Yahweh shall answer. You shall cry, and he shall say, here I am. If you take away from the midst of you the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity, and if you draw out your soul to the hungry, and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall your light rise in obscurity, and your darkness be as the noonday. And Yahweh shall guide you continually, and satisfy your soul in drought, and make fat your bones, and you shall be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of you shall build the always places. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. If you turn away your foot from the Shabbat, from doing your pleasure on my holy day.
So then if you're doing your pleasure as you're afflicting yourself and keeping his Sabbath, then you putting your foot on it. If you stepping on it, you defiling it. Go ahead.
And call the Shabbat a delight, the holy of Yahweh, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words. Then shall you delight yourself in Yahweh, and I'll cause you to ride upon the high places of the earth and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father, for the mouth of Yahweh has spoken it.
All right. Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 16. Leviticus chapter 16. And we're going to start that at verse 29.
Verse 29. And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 10th month, on the 10th
Read that again.
Hmm?
Read that again.
And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict your souls and do no work at all, whether it be one of your own country or a stranger that sojourns among you.
A stranger that sojourns among you lives in a place that you are in control of. They live with you. See, when people come and stay in your land, then they have to abide by the rules of your land. See, what we do is we let people come in our land and they keep their own law. We got a dress code, but then you let your sister's kids come over there and they don't have no clothes at all. They walk around in long drawers, and your daughter wearing a dress, and they causing some problems in your house, and you letting it go. Well, that's my sister's kid. They don't really keep no culture. They gonna keep it if they gonna be here. You can be homeless or put a dress on. What you want to do? You're gonna do it's real simple, real simple, real simple. I ain't got a whole lot of time to wait for you to figure it out either. You know what I'm saying? Dress on or door closed. How we doing it? Go ahead.
For on that day shall the priest make an atonement for you, to cleanse you, that you may be clean from all your sins before Yahweh. It shall be a Shabbat of rest unto you, and you shall afflict your souls by a statute forever. And the priest, whom he shall anoint, and whom he shall consecrate to minister in the priest's office in his father's stead, shall make the atonement, and shall put on the linen clothes, even the holy garments. And he shall make an atonement for the holy sanctuary, and he shall make an atonement for the tabernacle of the congregation, and for the altar. And he shall make an atonement for the priest, and for all the people of the congregation.
Okay.
And this shall be an everlasting statute unto you, to make an atonement for the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. And he did as Yahweh commanded Moshe.
All right. And as it is written, these are the things that we are participating in. And if anybody is new to this and have not heard all the other information leading up to that, back up to the last couple classes, and that's something that you may want to go over while we're going through this, so that you will understand what this fast is about, what atonement is about. Being that we are afflicting ourselves and not eating, watch yourself in where you hang out and what things you do, because this is one of those things whereby we are creatures of habit. So if there's something that you normally do, let's say, you sit at your desk, and right when you sit at your desk, this is where your snacks are. You might not want to sit at your desk, because all those other things are going to kick into gear as well. So remember that. And also that this is the most perfect time for you to pray unto your Elohim. Afflict your souls and offer up supplications for you, your family, the things that you have trouble with, the things you have issues with. Even the same with your family. You know their ailments. You know their issues. And if we truly need some things done, then it wouldn't be bad to get some others to pray for us at the same time. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Remember your fast to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.